All right, it's time to go ahead and code. So I've jumped ahead a little bit. Here is our human algorithm that we finished with. We went ahead and we already flow charted it, and we tested the flow chart. And we had some problems, but we fixed all those. And now we have to copy all this and paste it into our JavaScript, which I've already done. We start out with our var line, and that's our input and the result of our calculations. So we have two calculations down here, and that is assigning whatever years to animal years, and then the final calculation where we figured out what the human years were. So those are our four vars that we have up here. These are all our constants. All right, and now we're ready to go ahead and do our input. So the first one is I have a place in memory called animal type. I want to assign to that place in memory what's returned from my prompt. And I already have this here, so all I have to really do is put quotes so they know what to type in, and then a default value. So I'm just going to put cat as the default value. That's the first one we'll test. All right, then I have the same thing here. I have pet age, so let me go ahead and copy part of this and bring it down. I have a place in memory called pet age, and I wish to assign to that place in memory what's returned when I ask this question: how many years alive? Question mark. And I'm going to put a default value of 10, just so they can see. I don't want them to type in TEN. All right, so that's done. And now we're ready to go ahead and do our calculations. So we have this if, else if, else if, else if, but we want to use switch instead. So what we're going to do is switch. We're going to say switch animal type, and then case cat, case dog, case rabbit. So I'm just going to get rid of the if, and I'm going to start out with switch. And then in switch, we're going to use animal type as what we want to compare. And then the first case we're going to be using is cat. But first I'm going to go ahead and start my brace. Start, switch. All right, and then I'm going to go to the bottom here and end it. So right after this, we're going to have a close brace and then switch. It's always good to go ahead and put your open and close for your switches in, because you'll tend to forget when it gets down to the bottom. So the syntax for case is simply case, cat, and then ends in a colon, not a semicolon. And what do you want to do if cat is what's in animal type? We want to do this. So we're just going to leave that then, put a semicolon at the end. And the only thing I have to do is I have to add the keyword break. That ends that case. So we have a lot less braces when we use case. And then we continue on. So I'm going to get rid of all this and then type in case and then case dog colon. If that's true, I do this and then I break. Students tend to forget the break. If you forget the break, it doesn't know that you're done, even though it sees another case. It thinks that next case is nested, and that causes all sorts of problems. So you want to make sure that you use the syntax of that case, and then whatever you want to do, and then break to end that case. All right, and then colon at the end of the case line, semicolon at the end of all the others, and then break. Almost done. All right, the next one is horse, case, horse, semicolon, colon, and then semicolon, and then break. And then we have our last one, our gerbil. It's case, gerbil, colon, semicolon, and then break. All right, but we're not done. Even though this is the end of our decisions, if you remember, we had this at the end of our flowchart. We had a way to trap an error. So we want to do the same thing in switch. So what we do in switch is we use, and we make sure it's above the end switch, but we have one more case, and that case is default. But we don't say case default, we just say default. Default colon. Okay, that's case default. What do we want to do if that happens? It doesn't match any of these. Then we want to have an alert. An alert is a pop-up box. And inside the box, we're going to put what we had in our flowchart. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this and then close it. And then paste it in. All right. All right, and the other thing we want to do is we want to have error flag equals 1. So we're going to assign 1 to the error flag. And then that's all we're going to do here, so we're going to go ahead and break it. Now we have an issue, and that is we haven't declared error flag. So I'm going to have to copy this. In fact, I'm going to copy this whole thing. Because instead of just making an empty place in memory, remember in the flowchart it automatically had 0 because that's what Visual Logic does, but JavaScript doesn't. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with error flag with 0, meaning that no error has occurred, and then let it change it to 1 if an error does occur. Right here. Okay, then down at the end here, if you remember, whoop, we have to have that end switch, so let's leave that. Okay, now we're ready to do this math and then do this output. Now the issue we have is that we only want to do this if there's no error. So I'm going to say that if error flag equals 0, which is what I put into it when I first start the program, means it hasn't been changed. Get rid of this semicolon and then put parentheses around. So if it's true that the error flag still has 0 in it, then do this and do this output. So that will close that. Else, meaning that an error flag has happened, then we're going to do this. So we have an open brace and then close brace, and then here we want to do the same thing we have here. So let me open this up a little bit. Come on. Why won't you open? Come on, there we go. All right, so we're going to use the same one right here. So I'm going to copy that. Remember, that's the same. That's what we did in our. But instead of alert, I'm going to make this a document write. So this way it stays on the screen. It's not one of those pop-ups. And then if it's true, if there was no error, then I'm going to have this, and I'm going to have then this as a document write. So I'm going to say document.write, open and close parentheses, semicolon, just like we've always done, nothing different. And then I can go into my flow chart and go ahead and get that output. Okay, so this is my output, so I'll go ahead and copy that. And I'll paste it in. Might as well paste the whole thing. All right, so and no issues here. So if it's no error has occurred, we'll do this math and then we'll do this output. If error has occurred, so there's a 1 in error flag, then we'll do this. So let's go ahead and run it and see if it actually works. And an error's coming up. Okay, so on line 13, I'm missing something. So let's go back and go back up to 13. Might not have commented something out. No, let's see. Page. See, I'm missing the closing quote here. All right, so 2 arguments, this and then that. Okay, so that should work now. All right, so it's a cat, 10, and 70. So that works. So we'll go back now. Let's make an error. And this is cat 10. See, you type that, and then when I click OK, it's just going to show that up there, editor. So the only other thing I wanted to do was, I shouldn't ask this question here. So let's cut it out, unless there was no error. So this is how it should look right here. All right, so let's try it again. Okay, I'll say cat. See, now it doesn't ask me for the age because there's an error. And then it gives me that. So hopefully this you'll understand how to convert if else if into a case, and then also how to do error checking and error trapping.